Okay, hi everybody. Welcome to Phil and Dave's Excellent Adventures. Just Dave here. Today I'm talking about the movie Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. This is going to be a spoiler review, so if you've not seen the movie yet and you are concerned about spoilers, I would suggest you go and watch the movie first before you watch this review. So Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves is an adaptation of the classic Dungeons and Dragons game created by Gary Gygax in the 70s, I think, and since Wizards of the Coast and now Hasbro owns it. The movie itself is about Ed-Gein, played by Chris Pine, who is in jail, who was in jail for a couple years, and he's out now, and he's trying to get his daughter back from Hugh Grant, who turned out to be not his friend like he thought he was. So this is going to be a spoiler review. I think I said before, so if you haven't seen it, go ahead, watch the movie first. As far as what I liked about the movie, overall, I thought the cast was great. I really liked Chris Pine as the main character, Ed-Gein, the bard, who's sort of the leader of the group. I thought he was really funny and really charismatic, and I've always liked him and stuff. And it's, I think this is something that he found that really fits him really well. Michelle Rodriguez, same thing. I've always been a fan of hers, but I'm not necessarily a fan of the Fast and the Furious movies. And she's playing kind of a similar kind of tough character, I guess. But thought she fit the role really well as Holga in here. Thought that was great. I loved Hugh Grant as the villain. I think he was great as a villain in Paddington 2. So again, see him as a villain. He's great. I'm loving old Hugh Grant, and I'm really liking it a lot. Justice Smith as the young wizard, I thought was also very good. The only person who's not using his natural accent. Regé-Jean Page, who, again, I'm a fan of. He's not in the movie much. I wish he was in it a little more, maybe, but he was great. And I really like Sophia Lillis as the druid character, Doric, as well. Thought the opening was great. It's sort of a good introduction to Chris Pine's character, and the way they kind of break out of the prison by grabbing onto that guy and throwing him out, and even the name. Oh God, what's the guy's name? I forgot it already. But he had a funny name. All good stuff. I overall liked the story and where they were going with it. The way that they had to sort of get together, much like you would do in Dungeons and Dragons, and join together and create a party to fight an evil force. Good stuff. I loved it. I particularly liked the humor in this. I thought a lot of it worked really well for me. The stuff with the revived corpse, I thought was really funny, where you only have 5 questions, and then they kept asking questions by mistake. I actually had a similar thing happen in my campaign recently, so that was pretty funny. I liked the stuff, the mid-credit scene where they do a callback with that as well was pretty funny because they never asked him the final question. The stuff with Holga and her ex was also funny. Like a lot of really good stuff in there. A lot of very laugh out loud moments, not only for me, but in the theater I saw it, and there's quite a few people laughing and clapping and really, really enjoying the movie a lot. I like the music of this. The score was done by Lorne Balfe, who's done a bunch of stuff from Mission Impossible Fallout, and the movie side of the Assassin's Creed games. He's also done The Crown and the Genius TV show, which I think he won a BAFTA for or something. But yeah, very accomplished musician, composer who does a lot of stuff, a variety of different things. I also like the Tame Impala song in here. I'm a Tame Impala fan, so when I heard that Kevin Parker was doing a song for it, I was stoked, and I think it fits. It's maybe not my favorite Tame Impala song, but I like it. It fits the vibe of the movie overall. I like the costume design in this. I think they all look really cool. And I like the set design and the setting and everything else. It's set in the Forgotten Realms, which is, I think, one of the more popular, probably the most popular place. It's where 5e is set for the most part. So, yeah, very popular. I really like the fact that almost everyone here, with the exception of Justice Smith, are using their natural accents. They're just, Chris Pine speaks with an American accent. So does Michelle Rodriguez. Hugh Grant, of course, is British, so he's speaking with a British accent. Regé-Jean Page as well, I think. But yeah, I enjoyed that, and I appreciated that because it sort of added to sort of, for me, the movie, because I don't know, everyone always does the British accent all the time, and I'm sure Chris Pine and the rest of them could probably pull it off, and Justice Smith pulled it off well. But I don't know, I don't always need that. And to me, also, I think a mixture of the fact that the humor was very kind of modern and very up to date, and also a little kind of not exactly fourth wall breaking, but a little kind of winking and kind of tongue in cheek, kind of nudge kind of stuff. That and the fact that they are using their just natural accents, to me, made it feel kind of more like a real D&D game. And even though they didn't do the thing where like they actually set it up where it was just people playing D&D, which I think they could have done, and a lot of people talked about, or even you end the movie and it's just people sitting around a table and you're like, all right, see you guys next week. But I appreciated that they didn't do that. But the fact that they did kind of have the humor at least be pretty modern, and their accents and everything be modern, that added to me and made it feel more like playing a game of D&D. I do like, though, they made a lot of references in here to actual things in Dungeons and Dragons, like the Underdark, which I hate. I never want to go there. Every time we go there, it's always terrible. The Gelatinous Cube, and then some even characters like Elminster is an actual character, and Themberchild, the Fat Dragon, all real characters in the lore of Dungeons and Dragons that already existed. So that was cool. And I can't pretend to know much about Dungeons and Dragons. I just started playing in September of last year. I'm sure there's a lot of people who know a lot more than I do, but for me, the minor things or the little things that I did notice, I appreciated. As far as what I didn't like about the movie, they do the opening greeting thing where they're all sitting around and they're like, hey, we just wanted to say thanks for coming out to see our movie. And I just don't like it when they do that. I get what they're going for. I get what they're trying to do, but I'd rather just not. And maybe they just did it because I did go to like an early premiere, so maybe they didn't do it for everyone. But a movie is a little too long. I think it's like an hour 45, just under 2 hours. And I don't know, I complain about that all the time, but I feel like they could have trimmed a little bit from this movie, could have made it like an hour and a half. But that's also just because I had to pee at some point and I didn't want to get up because I was enjoying it. So maybe that was just me. Maybe I shouldn't have drank so much. There are some minor inaccuracies in here, which I noticed right away, like Doric turning into an owl bear. Like they're monstrosities. You can only do beasts and elementals once you reach level 10. But, and then there's a part where like the bridge falls, which kind of a funny scene. And they use their hither-thither stick, which I believe was created for the movie. But she had already flown earlier. So she's at least level 8. So she could have just turned into a giant eagle and flown them over, I'm pretty sure. If not one at a time, I don't know. But again, minor stuff. And they even kind of did a little thing addressing that with the original characters from the cartoon and stuff. I just pointed out because I'm like, hey, I do know some D&D stuff. You could argue also that the wife character was kind of fridged. Not exactly because his motivation isn't, well, I guess his motivation is to bring his wife back. So yeah, I guess that's a little bit of a problem there. But I did appreciate that he's also kind of going for his daughter as opposed for his wife or whatever. Although I guess he is kind of trying to bring his wife back. So yeah, that bothers me a little bit, I think. There's a point where he finally gets back to his daughter, and Hugh Grant's been lying to her this whole time. And so she thinks that he actually went to go get some scroll of riches or something, and not this scroll that was supposed to bring his mom back. And when his dad tells her the truth, she doesn't believe him, which I guess I can understand. Dad's been gone for a couple of years, and maybe he's kind of got a history of not always being truthful, although they didn't really show that. But okay, and Hugh Grant's convinced her, sure. But I found it hard to believe that she also wouldn't believe Holga, who she apparently has a pretty strong relationship with, and was really excited to see her. I would think that once Holga also corroborated the story, she would be like, oh, okay, clearly this guy is lying to me, not the two people who love me the most. But whatever, minor thing. You have to have a movie. It's fine. Some of the CGI, and I think for something like that, they could have just corrected it or made it a little more believable for me if they would have said, oh, she's under a magic spell, or he cast some kind of spell to make her forget about something or other. I don't know. For me, that would have just made it a little more believable. Yeah, some of the CGI is not great. Most of it's actually fine. I think the character designs, the actual designs of the monsters and the animals and stuff that they use the CGI for are pretty decent. But yeah, some of the CGI is clearly not quite up to the level that we're used to. Other than that, and I didn't love the Hasbro in the title. That's just a minor thing. It's not their fault that it got bought out by Hasbro, but it just sucks when it's like Dungeons and Dragons game created by Hasbro. I'm like, no, it wasn't. It's created by Gary Gygax and then licensed to Wizards of the Coast. But either way, other than that, movie is written and directed by John Francis Daley and Jonathan Goldstein. John Francis Daley was an actor in Freaks and Geeks and stuff like that. And they worked together a lot. They did Game Night before this and Vacation, the 2015 version. And the movie was written by the two of them, as well as Michael Gilio and Chris McKay. The two of them, in addition to directing those other movies, also wrote Spider-Man Homecoming and Horrible Bosses and some other stuff. Michael Gilio has written something called Quick Stop and Jolene with Jessica Chastain. And Chris McKay, he wrote an episode of Moral Oral. He created a cartoon called Lunar Jim. He's mostly known for directing like the Batman Lego movie and the Tomorrow War. He was originally supposed to direct this movie, but I think he ended up dropping out to do the Tomorrow War or something. But anyway, I think he and Michael Gilio had written a script. They used elements of that, and then Daley and Goldstein rewrote it somewhat. Either way, I don't know. It's always very confusing when it comes to writing credits. It looks like, what's his name now? Chris McKay does have Renfield coming out soon, which looks interesting to me, which he's directing and not writing. Like I said, I'm pretty sure this is set in the Forgotten Realms, which is pretty much, from what I understand, where most 5e campaigns take place. I suppose they could take place anywhere, but it seems to be mostly focused there, and that's where I think everyone seems to be playing. Again, I'm not an expert. I did like there were some cool cameos in here. We had Tom Morello, during the arena sequence. We also had the characters from the animated series in the maze sequence, and Bradley Cooper makes a cameo in there as Michelle Rodriguez's ex-boyfriend. So that was fun. The Hither stick, or whatever it's called, staff, as far as I can tell, was just made up for the movie. Although now it does have a page on the official D&D website or whatever. So I'm sure you can put it in your campaign if you wanted to. I mean, that's the fun of D&D. But yes, as far as I know, it didn't exist before this movie. Movie's got a $150 million budget, which is more than I expected, honestly. It's a lot of money. So far, it's made $71 million worldwide. It's still first weekend, so I mean, that's okay. It's going to need to make $300 million to be profitable, so that's going to be tough, but hopefully maybe overseas it'll do better, and hopefully word of mouth will help with it, because I do think this was a good movie, and it seems like critics and audiences are also liking it as well. The Rotten Tomatoes on this, the critics are at 91%, and the audience is 93%. So again, a rare occasion where critics and audiences agree, and everyone seems to really like this movie. Apparently, they've got a spin-off TV series planned with the same characters, hopefully, maybe, with Rawson Marshall Thurber as the showrunner. He's kind of hit or miss for me. I did like Red Notice, but I didn't really like, I think he did Rampage and Skyscraper, San Andreas, one of those, Central Intelligence, one of those rock movies. But yeah, anyway, he's kind of hit or miss for me. But as far as I'm concerned, I really like this movie. I think it was a good time in the theater. It was good fantasy, and we haven't really seen a good fantasy movie in the theaters in a long time, not really since maybe Lord of the Rings, I don't know. But yeah, it was a really good time. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it. Maybe if it was just a little bit shorter and, cut out some of the fridging stuff, it would have been really good. But if you saw the movie, let me know what you thought of it down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a great night. See you here again next week.